Every single night, while your body lies sleeping in your bed, your soul embarks on a journey to dimensions of existence that most people never consciously remember. For the past 40 years, I've been documenting these nocturnal travels of consciousness, and what I've discovered will revolutionize your understanding of why sleep exists and what your spirit accomplishes during those mysterious hours when your physical awareness fades away. Tonight, I'm going to reveal where your soul actually goes and why this knowledge could be the missing key to your spiritual awakening. In the next 45 minutes, you'll discover the complete spiritual map of where your soul travels during sleep, the different dimensions you visit, the beings you encounter, and the cosmic work you participate in every single night. You'll learn the ancient techniques for maintaining consciousness during these journeys, how to remember and integrate the guidance you receive, and why your dreams are actually memories of real spiritual experiences. Most importantly, you'll understand how conscious participation in your soul's nightly activities can accelerate your spiritual evolution, heal past life karma, and connect you directly with ascended masters who are guiding humanity's awakening. This isn't just about better sleep, it's about reclaiming the 50% of your existence that you've been unconscious of. I know you've probably experienced this yourself, waking up from a dream that felt so vivid and meaningful that you knew it was more than just your brain processing daily experiences. Maybe you've had dreams where you received profound teachings, met wise beings who shared life-changing insights, or found yourself in magnificent places that felt more real than physical reality. Perhaps you've noticed that some of your best ideas, creative inspirations, or solutions to problems seem to come after a good night's sleep, as if your unconscious mind was working on things your waking awareness couldn't solve. These aren't coincidences or random neural firing. They're evidence that your soul is actively engaged in spiritual dimensions every night, receiving guidance and participating in cosmic activities that directly benefit your earthly existence. What you've dismissed as just dreams are actually memories of your soul's real experiences in higher realms of consciousness. Today's revelation will illuminate 5 profound aspects of your soul's nightly journey. First, I'll explain the spiritual anatomy of sleep, why consciousness doesn't simply turn off when your body rests, but shifts into different dimensional frequencies that allow for experiences impossible in physical form. Then we'll explore the specific realms your soul visits during different stages of sleep, from the astral planes where you process emotions and meet deceased loved ones, to the causal dimensions where you receive direct teachings from ascended masters. We'll dive deep into the cosmic activities your soul participates in each night: healing work for the planet, karmic balancing from past lives, and collaboration with other awakened souls in what I call the night shift of consciousness. I'll share the ancient practices for developing conscious sleep, including techniques passed down through mystery schools that allow you to maintain awareness during these spiritual journeys and bring back clear memories of your experiences. Finally, we'll discuss how understanding your soul's nightly activities can transform your entire approach to sleep, dreams, and spiritual development. But here's what might surprise you most. Your soul's work during sleep is often more important for your spiritual evolution than anything you accomplish during your waking hours. Now, here's something that will completely transform how you understand what happens the moment you close your eyes and drift off to sleep. Most people think consciousness simply shuts down when the body needs rest. But what I'm about to share reveals why this assumption keeps you disconnected from the most spiritually active period of your entire existence. There are 2 completely different ways people approach sleep in our modern world. One group treats sleep as nothing more than biological maintenance, 8 hours of downtime when the brain processes memories and the body repairs itself. They go to bed unconscious, remain unconscious throughout the night, and wake up with no awareness of what their consciousness experienced during those hours. But there's another group of people, mostly from ancient wisdom traditions and contemporary spiritual seekers who've rediscovered these teachings, who understand something profound that modern science is only beginning to glimpse. They know that consciousness doesn't disappear during sleep, it simply changes frequency, like a radio tuning from one station to another, allowing the soul to operate in dimensions that are inaccessible during normal waking awareness. The difference? The second group has learned that what we call falling asleep isn't the end of conscious experience, it's the beginning of the soul's most important daily activities. Getting this wrong means you'll spend 1/3 of your life completely unconscious, missing out on profound spiritual experiences, guidance from higher beings, and healing opportunities that could accelerate your evolution by decades. You'll treat sleep as lost time instead of recognizing it as your soul's opportunity to return to its true home and participate in cosmic activities that directly serve your earthly mission. But understand the spiritual anatomy of sleep, and everything changes. Suddenly, bedtime becomes a doorway to spiritual adventure. Your dreams transform from random mental activity into memories of real experiences in higher dimensions. And you begin to realize that your soul never stops learning, growing, and serving, even when your physical awareness is offline. Let me share the ancient understanding that will revolutionize your relationship with sleep and awaken you to the magnificent spiritual journey that happens every single night, because the process of what actually occurs when you fall asleep is far more extraordinary than anything modern science has discovered. The moment you begin to drift off to sleep, something remarkable happens that most people never consciously experience. Your soul, the eternal essence of who you truly are, begins to disengage from your physical body through a process that spiritual masters have mapped out with incredible precision over thousands of years of careful observation and direct ancient experience. This isn't metaphorical language or wishful thinking. Advanced practitioners who've learned to maintain awareness during this transition report consistent experiences that match ancient texts describing the soul's nightly journey. As your physical consciousness fades, your soul begins to vibrate at higher frequencies that allow it to operate in what mystics call the subtle dimensions, realms of existence that interpenetrate our physical world, but operate according to different laws of bodic sense, time, space, and causation. The first stage of this transition involves what ancient traditions call the loosening of the silver cord, the energetic connection that tethers your soul to your physical body. This cord, described in mystical texts from cultures around the world, ensures that your soul can travel freely through spiritual dimensions while remaining connected to your physical form. It's like having a safety line that allows you to explore underwater while maintaining connection to the surface. During light sleep, your soul typically remains relatively close to your body, hovering in what's called the etheric plane, a dimension that closely mirrors physical reality but allows for experiences that would be impossible in dense matter. This is where you might have dreams that seem to take place in familiar locations but with strange variations, or where you encounter deceased loved ones who appear completely real and communicate information you couldn't have known through normal means. But as sleep deepens, your soul's journey becomes far more adventurous and spiritually significant. Your consciousness begins to resonate with higher dimensional frequencies that allow access to realms where time doesn't function linearly, where thoughts instantly manifest as experiences, and where the boundaries between individual consciousness and cosmic consciousness become permeable. I first discovered this truth through direct experience during my early years of intensive meditation practice. I had been working with a Tibetan teacher who instructed me in techniques for maintaining awareness during the transition from waking to sleeping consciousness. After months of practice, I began to experience what felt like conscious separation from my physical body as I fell asleep. Instead of simply losing consciousness, I found myself floating above my sleeping form, fully aware and able to perceive my physical body from an external perspective. But what amazed me most was the incredible sense of freedom and expansion that came with this state. Colors seemed more vivid, thoughts became telepathic communication, and I could move through space simply by intending to be somewhere else. This wasn't a dream in any ordinary sense. It was consciousness operating according to the natural laws of subtle dimensions, free from the limitations that physical matter normally imposes on awareness. And as I continued to develop this ability, I discovered that these nocturnal journeys weren't random wandering, but purposeful activities that served both my individual spiritual development and my ability to serve others. The key insight that transformed my understanding is that your soul doesn't separate from your body during sleep because something is wrong or because you're dying. It separates because that's the natural state for consciousness when it's not actively engaged in physical activities. Your true self is actually a spiritual being temporarily inhabiting a physical form, and sleep provides the opportunity for that spiritual essence to return to its native dimensions and engage in activities that are impossible while trapped in dense matter. Think of it like this. Imagine you're a deep-sea explorer who spends hours underwater in a heavy diving suit. The suit allows you to function in an environment that would otherwise be impossible to survive in, but it also limits your movement and perception. When you surface and remove the suit, you don't cease to exist. You return to your natural element where you can move freely, breathe easily, and experience the world without artificial constraints. Your physical body is like that diving suit, allowing your consciousness to operate in the dense dimension of physical matter, but also limiting your awareness to what can be perceived through 5 physical senses. During sleep, your soul removes this suit and returns to dimensions where consciousness can function according to its true nature, unlimited by time and space, capable of direct communication with other souls, and able to access information and experiences that transcend anything possible in physical form. But here's what makes this understanding so practical and immediately relevant to your spiritual development. Your soul doesn't just wander randomly through these higher dimensions. It follows what I call cosmic curriculum, participating in specific activities and visiting particular realms based on what's most needed for your spiritual evolution and your service to the collective awakening of humanity. Modern sleep research has identified different stages of sleep based on brainwave patterns, but what they're actually measuring are the external signs of your soul's journey through different dimensional frequencies. REM sleep, for example, corresponds to periods when your soul is most actively engaged in what ancient traditions call astral travel, conscious movement through dimensions where emotional and mental energies take on form and substance. During these periods, your soul might visit what I call spiritual academies, gathering places where souls receive teachings from more advanced beings, process karma from current and past lifetimes, and collaborate with other incarnated souls on projects that serve planetary healing and evolution. These aren't metaphorical concepts, they're actual locations in subtle dimensions where real learning and healing take place. The deeper stages of sleep correspond to your soul's access to even higher frequencies, where individual consciousness begins to merge with cosmic consciousness and participate in what can only be described as divine activities, the ongoing creation and maintenance of reality itself. During these profound states, your soul might receive direct transmissions of wisdom from ascended masters, participate in healing work that affects thousands of other souls, or access the Akashic records where all knowledge and experience is stored. This is why you sometimes wake up from deep sleep feeling like you've been somewhere important, but can't quite remember where, or why certain sleep periods leave you feeling more rested and inspired than others. Regardless of how many hours you slept, your soul has been active in dimensions where a few minutes can contain experiences equivalent to months of earthly learning. But perhaps most importantly, understanding the spiritual anatomy of sleep reveals why developing conscious awareness during these transitions can accelerate your spiritual evolution more rapidly than almost any other practice. When you learn to maintain awareness as your soul disengages from your body, you gain access to realms of knowledge, healing, and service that are simply impossible to reach through normal waking consciousness. This conscious participation doesn't interfere with your body's need for physical rest. In fact, it often enhances the restorative effects of sleep because your soul is able to direct healing energies more precisely and receive guidance more clearly when awareness is maintained throughout the process. Now, what I'm about to share will explain why different types of dreams feel so different from each other and why some sleep experiences leave you feeling like you've been to school, while others feel like you've been to a cosmic hospital where deep healing took place. This brings us to something that will revolutionize how you understand the geography of consciousness itself. Because your soul doesn't just wander randomly through some vague spiritual dimension. During sleep, it travels through specific realms that serve different functions, each with its own characteristics, inhabitants, and purposes for your spiritual development. Most people think of the spiritual world as a single, undifferentiated realm somewhere up there or beyond physical reality. But what advanced practitioners have discovered through thousands of years of conscious exploration is that consciousness operates through multiple dimensional frequencies, each serving specific functions in the cosmic order, and your soul visits different realms based on what's most needed for your growth and service during any particular sleep cycle. Think about how your waking life takes place in different environments that serve different purposes: your home for rest and personal time, your workplace for productive activity, schools for learning, hospitals for healing, and community centers for connecting with others. The spiritual dimensions operate similarly, with specific realms designed to facilitate particular types of soul experiences and development. The closest dimensional frequency to physical reality is what ancient traditions call the astral plane, a realm where emotional and mental energies take on form and substance, allowing your soul to process experiences from your earthly life and interact with other souls who are also traveling in their subtle bodies during sleep. When you dream about familiar people or places, but with strange variations or impossible occurrences, you're often experiencing memories of your soul's activities in the astral plane. This realm operates like an emotional and mental laboratory where you can work through feelings, relationships, and experiences in ways that would be impossible in physical form. I remember one particularly vivid experience from my early days of conscious sleep exploration. I found myself in what appeared to be my childhood home, but it was filled with light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. My grandmother, who had passed away several years earlier, was there waiting for me with a warm smile and a clarity in her eyes that I had never seen during her physical lifetime. She spent what felt like hours teaching me about forgiveness, not through words, but through direct transmission of understanding that penetrated every cell of my being. She showed me how resentments I had been carrying were like heavy chains that prevented my soul from accessing higher states of consciousness, and she guided me through a process of releasing these burdens that I could never have accomplished through thinking or willpower alone. When I woke up, the feelings of anger and hurt that had plagued me for months were completely gone, replaced by a profound sense of peace and understanding. This wasn't just a comforting dream, it was real healing work that took place in a dimension where the constraints of time and physical limitation don't apply. The astral plane is also where you often encounter deceased loved ones who appear in your dreams with important messages or guidance. These aren't symbolic representations created by your subconscious mind. They're actual meetings with souls who exist in frequencies between earthly incarnations and choose to help those they love who are still engaged in physical experience. But as your spiritual development progresses, your soul gains access to higher dimensional frequencies during sleep. The mental plane, for example, is where your consciousness can receive direct downloads of knowledge and wisdom that far exceed what's possible through earthly study or experience. During my third year of intensive spiritual practice, I began having dreams where I found myself in magnificent libraries filled with books that contained knowledge about cosmic laws, healing techniques, and spiritual principles that I had never encountered in physical form. I would spend what felt like entire nights studying these texts, and upon waking, I would find that new understanding had been permanently integrated into my consciousness. These weren't just inspiring dreams, they were actual educational experiences taking place in dimensions where information can be transmitted directly from consciousness to consciousness without the limitations of language or physical books. The knowledge I received during these visits to the mental plane later proved invaluable in my spiritual teaching and healing work, providing insights that I could never have accessed through conventional learning. Even higher than the mental plane is what mystics call the causal plane, the dimension where your soul can access the Akashic records, the cosmic database that contains all knowledge, all experience, and all possibilities that have ever existed or could exist. This is where your soul goes to understand the deeper meaning of your earthly experiences and to receive guidance about your life purpose and spiritual mission. Access to the causal plane typically requires significant spiritual development, but when it occurs, the experiences are life-changing in ways that can redirect your entire earthly path. You might receive direct understanding of your soul's mission for this lifetime, clear guidance about important life decisions, or profound insight into the cosmic forces that are shaping human evolution. But perhaps the most extraordinary realm your soul can access during sleep is what I call the cosmic plane dimensions, where individual consciousness merges with cosmic consciousness and participates in the ongoing creation and maintenance of reality itself. During these profound experiences, your soul might join with ascended masters and cosmic beings in healing work that affects the entire planet, or participate in councils where decisions are made about humanity's spiritual evolution. I experienced this level of dimensional travel during a particularly profound period of my spiritual development. I found myself in what can only be described as a cosmic temple, where beings of pure light were gathered around what appeared to be a living map of Earth's energy systems. I understood without being told that these beings were working to heal and balance the planet's spiritual ecology, and that my soul had been invited to participate in this cosmic service. For what felt like hours, I worked alongside these masters, directing healing energy toward areas of the planet where suffering and unconsciousness were creating spiritual blockages. The work was both incredibly precise and deeply fulfilling, and I understood that this was just one of many such gatherings that take place continuously in higher dimensions, staffed by souls who have evolved enough to serve at this cosmic level. When I returned to normal waking consciousness, I felt a profound sense of purpose and connection to the larger spiritual work happening on our planet. But more importantly, I understood that every soul eventually develops the capacity to participate in this kind of cosmic service, and that our individual spiritual development serves not just personal fulfillment, but preparation for increasingly responsible roles in the cosmic order. These different dimensional realms aren't separate worlds that have nothing to do with your earthly life. They're aspects of a unified cosmic reality where your soul continues its education, healing, and service even while your physical form rests. Understanding this geography of consciousness helps explain why some sleep periods feel more meaningful than others, and why developing conscious access to these realms can accelerate your spiritual evolution so dramatically. But what your soul actually does during its visits to these different dimensions is even more extraordinary than the realms themselves. Because every night, while your body sleeps, your consciousness is engaged in activities that directly influence your earthly experience and serve the evolution of all life. What I discovered next changed my entire understanding of why sleep exists, and revealed that the hours you spend unconscious each night might actually be the most spiritually productive time of your entire existence. This brings us to something that will probably explain experiences you've had but never fully understood: why you sometimes wake up feeling like you've been working all night even though your body was resting, or why certain dreams leave you feeling more emotionally or spiritually transformed than months of conscious effort could achieve. Your soul doesn't travel to these higher dimensions just for the adventure or even primarily for your own learning and healing. During sleep, your consciousness participates in what I call the night shift of consciousness, cosmic activities that are essential for maintaining the spiritual balance of our planet and serving the collective evolution of human cosmos, awareness. Think about how hospitals operate around the clock, with day shifts handling routine care and night shifts dealing with emergencies and critical care that can't wait for morning. The spiritual dimensions operate similarly, with souls who are temporarily incarnated in physical bodies, contributing their consciousness to cosmic healing and maintenance work that takes place while their earthly awareness is offline. The first and most common activity your soul engages in during sleep is personal healing work that goes far deeper than what your physical body accomplishes during rest. While your organs repair themselves and your brain processes daily experiences, your soul is actively working to heal emotional wounds, integrate spiritual lessons, and release karmic patterns that have been accumulated over lifetimes of experience. This healing work often involves what I call energy archaeology, your soul carefully excavating layers of conditioning, trauma, and limiting beliefs that have become embedded in your consciousness over years or even lifetimes. In the higher dimensions, this work can be accomplished with precision and speed that would be impossible through earthly therapy or healing modalities. I experienced this directly during a period when I was struggling with deep anxiety that seemed to have no clear cause in my current life circumstances. During conscious sleep, I found myself working with beings who guided me through what felt like excavating an ancient wound that had been carried across multiple incarnations. They showed me how a traumatic experience from a past lifetime had created an energetic pattern that was still affecting my present consciousness, and they helped me release this pattern through methods that transcended anything possible in physical form. The healing took place over several nights of conscious sleep work, and by the end of the process, the anxiety that had plagued me for months had completely dissolved. More importantly, I understood how individual healing work during sleep serves the collective healing of humanity, because every pattern of fear or limitation that gets resolved in one soul weakens that pattern's influence on the collective human field. But your soul's nightly activities extend far beyond personal healing. During deeper stages of sleep, when your consciousness can access higher dimensional frequencies, you often participate in healing work for other souls who are struggling with challenges similar to ones you've already overcome. This service happens naturally and automatically when your soul has developed sufficient wisdom and compassion to be helpful to others. You might find yourself in dream scenarios where you're comforting someone who's grieving, offering guidance to someone who's lost, or simply providing loving presence to souls who are going through difficult transitions. These aren't random dreams about helping people, they're actual service activities, where your consciousness is being used as a channel for healing energy to reach other souls who need support. This explains why you sometimes wake up feeling emotionally drained even though you slept well, or why you have vivid dreams about helping strangers that feel more real than your waking experiences. An even more profound level of service involves what ancient traditions call karma balancing work your soul does during sleep to resolve spiritual debts and obligations that have been accumulated over multiple lifetimes. Every action you've ever taken, in this life or previous ones, creates energetic consequences that eventually need to be balanced through loving service or conscious suffering. During sleep, your soul can accelerate this balancing process by voluntarily taking on healing or service work that helps resolve karmic patterns much more quickly than would be possible through earthly experience alone. This might involve your consciousness serving as a bridge for souls who are transitioning between physical death and spiritual realms, or participating in healing work for souls who are stuck in lower astral dimensions due to unresolved attachments or traumas. But perhaps the most extraordinary service your soul can provide during sleep is participation in what I call planetary healing work, collective efforts by incarnated and discarnated souls to heal and balance the spiritual ecology of Earth itself. Just as your physical planet has ecosystems that require constant maintenance and balancing, the spiritual dimensions of Earth require ongoing care from conscious beings who understand how energy systems work. During sleep, advanced souls often gather in higher dimensions to direct healing energy toward areas of the planet where unconsciousness, conflict, or environmental destruction has created spiritual imbalances. I've participated in this work many times during conscious sleep, and it's both humbling and profoundly meaningful to realize that individual spiritual development serves this larger purpose. When enough souls participate in planetary healing work, real changes occur in the collective human field that influence everything from political decisions to environmental healing to the awakening of consciousness in millions of people. During one particularly powerful experience, I found myself working with a group of souls to heal the energetic aftermath of a natural disaster that had created tremendous suffering and spiritual disruption. We worked together to clear traumatic energies from the area, comfort souls who had died suddenly, and restore spiritual balance to a region that had been thrown into chaos. The work was intense and demanding, requiring all the love and wisdom I had developed through years of spiritual practice. But when it was complete, I understood that this kind of service is one of the primary reasons why souls choose to incarnate during times of planetary transformation, not just to evolve personally, but to contribute their consciousness to collective healing that serves all life. Your soul's participation in these activities during sleep explains why spiritual development accelerates your ability to serve others, and why individual awakening naturally leads to compassionate action in the world. Every night, as your consciousness operates in dimensions where the unity of all life is directly perceivable, you're being trained in cosmic service that prepares you for increasingly responsible roles in the spiritual evolution of humanity. This understanding transforms sleep from passive downtime into recognition that you're participating in the most important work happening on our planet, the conscious evolution of human consciousness itself. But to fully benefit from these nightly activities, you need to develop the ability to maintain awareness during your soul's travels and bring back memories of these experiences to guide your earthly life. Now, what I'm about to share will give you the specific tools needed to transform your sleep from unconscious oblivion into conscious participation in the most profound spiritual experiences available to human consciousness. This brings us to the most practical and immediately transformative information I can share with you today. Because understanding what your soul does during sleep is only valuable if you can learn to consciously participate in these activities and bring back clear memories that guide your waking life. There are two completely different approaches to sleep that determine whether you spend 1/3 of your life unconscious or whether you use those hours as the most spiritually productive time of your entire existence. Most people simply collapse into unconsciousness each night, completely unaware of the extraordinary journeys their soul is taking and the profound activities they're participating in. But there's another approach, developed by mystery schools and advanced spiritual practitioners over thousands of years, that allows you to maintain consciousness during your soul's travels and actively participate in the cosmic work that shapes both your individual evolution and the collective awakening of humanity. The difference isn't just about having better dreams or a more restful sleep. It's about reclaiming conscious access to 50% of your existence and developing spiritual abilities that can accelerate your evolution by decades. Getting this wrong means you'll continue treating sleep as lost time, missing out on direct guidance from ascended masters, healing opportunities that could resolve lifetimes of karma, and service work that could contribute to planetary transformation. You'll wake up each morning having forgotten the most important experiences of your entire day. But learn the ancient arts of conscious sleep, and everything changes. Your bedroom becomes a launching pad for spiritual adventures. Your dreams transform into memories of real experiences in higher dimensions, and you begin to live as a fully conscious being who serves cosmic purposes 24 hours a day. Let me share the specific techniques that can transform your relationship with sleep and awaken you to the magnificent spiritual life that's been waiting for your conscious participation every single night. The foundation of conscious sleep is understanding that the transition from waking to sleeping consciousness is actually a learnable skill that can be developed through specific practices and intentions. Just as you learn to control your attention during meditation or develop the ability to focus your mind during study, you can learn to maintain awareness as your soul disengages from your physical body and begins its nightly journey. The first essential practice is what I call conscious transition preparation. This involves spending the 30 minutes before sleep preparing your consciousness for the dimensional shift that's about to occur, rather than simply collapsing into bed after a busy day and hoping for rest. Begin by creating a sacred space around your bed. This doesn't require elaborate rituals, but simply approaching your sleeping area with the same reverence you would bring to a meditation hall or temple. Light a candle, burn some incense, or simply spend a few minutes in prayer or meditation to shift your consciousness from the mundane activities of daily life to recognition that you're about to embark on a spiritual journey. The second step is setting clear intentions for your soul's activities during sleep. Instead of hoping for good dreams or simply wanting to wake up rested, specifically request that you maintain awareness during your spiritual travels, receive guidance from your higher self or spiritual guides, and remember the experiences that would be most helpful for your earthly life. I've found that speaking these intentions aloud creates a stronger energetic imprint than simply thinking them. You might say something like, "I ask that my consciousness remain aware during my soul's journey tonight. I request guidance from my highest teachers about specific question or challenge. I intend to serve wherever my presence can be most helpful, and I ask to remember the experiences that will best support my spiritual growth and earthly service." The third preparation practice involves what I call body-soul coordination, specific techniques for helping your soul disengage from your physical form smoothly and consciously, rather than simply losing awareness as you fall asleep. Lie comfortably in your bed and begin by relaxing your physical body completely while keeping your mind alert and aware. Starting with your toes and moving gradually up through every part of your body, consciously release physical tension while maintaining mental clarity. This creates the ideal conditions for conscious separation, a relaxed body that doesn't hold your soul too tightly, combined with alert awareness that can observe the transition process. As you feel yourself beginning to drift towards sleep, instead of letting consciousness fade, imagine that you're gently floating upward while remaining connected to your physical form through a silver cord of light. Many people report that this visualization helps them maintain awareness during the initial stages of soul separation. But perhaps the most important technique for developing conscious sleep is learning to work with what I call threshold consciousness, that twilight state between waking and sleeping where your soul is beginning to disengage, but hasn't yet fully transitioned to higher dimensional frequencies. During this threshold period, you can often observe the process of dimensional shifting directly. You might notice your perception becoming more fluid, your sense of time and space shifting, or awareness of presences or energies that aren't perceptible during normal waking consciousness. Instead of fighting these changes or allowing them to pull you into unconsciousness, practice maintaining curious, relaxed awareness of whatever is occurring. I remember the first time I successfully maintained consciousness through this threshold period. I felt my awareness gently separating from my physical body while remaining connected through what appeared as a luminous cord. For several minutes, I could perceive both my physical form lying in bed and my subtle body floating slightly above it, fully conscious and aware in both states simultaneously. This experience was a gateway to understanding that consciousness isn't limited to physical awareness, and that the boundaries between waking and sleeping are much more fluid than most people realize. From that threshold state, I was able to consciously direct my soul's travel to specific dimensions and engage in deliberate spiritual activities, rather than simply drifting wherever unconscious patterns might take me. Once you've developed some facility with conscious transition, the next level involves learning to navigate the different dimensional realms intentionally, rather than simply experiencing whatever occurs randomly. This requires understanding that consciousness during sleep operates more like flying than walking. You move through intention and focused attention rather than physical effort. If you want to visit the astral plane to work on emotional healing or connect with deceased loved ones, you set that intention clearly and allow your consciousness to resonate with that dimensional frequency. If you're seeking teachings or knowledge, you can direct your attention toward the mental plane where cosmic libraries and wisdom teachings are accessible. The key is approaching these travels with the same focused intention you would bring to any important earthly activity, while remaining open and receptive to whatever experiences serve your highest good, rather than trying to control outcomes through will or expectation. Dream journaling becomes absolutely essential for developing conscious sleep abilities. Keep a notebook and pen immediately beside your bed, and train yourself to record whatever you can remember immediately upon waking, even if it's just fragments or impressions that don't seem significant. The act of recording your sleep experiences sends a clear message to your subconscious mind that these activities are important and worth remembering. Over time, your recall will naturally improve, and you'll begin to notice patterns and themes that reveal the deeper spiritual work your soul is accomplishing during sleep. But perhaps most importantly, conscious sleep development requires patience and trust in your soul's natural wisdom. Don't expect dramatic experiences immediately, and don't judge your progress based on how vivid or memorable your dreams become. The most profound spiritual work often occurs in dimensions where experience doesn't translate easily into language or memory. Sometimes the evidence of your soul's nightly activities appears not as dramatic dreams, but as gradual changes in your earthly consciousness, increased intuition, unexpected solutions to problems, improved relationships, or a growing sense of purpose and connection to something greater than yourself. These changes indicate that your soul is successfully engaging in cosmic activities during sleep, even if you don't consciously remember the specific experiences. Trust that as you continue developing conscious sleep abilities, your awareness will naturally expand to include more and more of your soul's magnificent nightly journey. The ultimate goal isn't to control or dominate your sleep experiences, but to become a conscious participant in the cosmic activities that your soul naturally engages in every night. This participation accelerates your spiritual evolution while contributing to the collective awakening that's transforming our planet during these extraordinary times. But developing conscious sleep is only half of the equation. The other half involves learning how to integrate the wisdom and experiences you receive during these spiritual journeys into your daily life in ways that transform your earthly existence and service. Now, what I'm about to share will show you how to bridge the gap between the profound spiritual experiences your soul has during sleep and your practical daily life, ensuring that the wisdom you receive in higher dimensions actually transforms your earthly existence rather than remaining as beautiful but disconnected memories. This brings us to something that separates truly advanced spiritual practitioners from those who remain stuck in spiritual experiences that don't translate into transformed living. Because the ultimate purpose of conscious sleep and spiritual travel isn't to escape earthly existence or have fascinating experiences in other dimensions. It's to bring the wisdom, healing, and cosmic perspective you gain during these journeys into your daily life, in ways that serve both your individual evolution and your ability to help others awaken. There are two types of people who develop conscious sleep abilities. One group becomes fascinated with the experiences themselves, treating their nightly spiritual journeys like entertainment or escape from the challenges of physical existence. They might have profound experiences in higher dimensions, but struggle to integrate these insights into practical wisdom that improves their relationships, work, and service in the world. The other group understands that conscious sleep is a tool for accelerated spiritual development that must be balanced with grounded, practical application in earthly life. They use their nightly spiritual experiences as guidance for making better decisions, healing relationships, and discovering their true purpose for this incarnation. The difference? The second group has learned that the most profound spiritual experiences are only valuable when they translate into greater love, wisdom, and service in the physical dimension where most of humanity still needs help awakening. Getting this wrong means you might develop impressive psychic abilities and have fascinating spiritual experiences while remaining emotionally immature, relationally dysfunctional, or unable to maintain practical responsibilities. You become what I call a spiritual escapist, someone who uses higher dimensional experiences to avoid dealing with the real work of conscious living. But learn to integrate your sleep wisdom skillfully, and you become what the ancient traditions called a householder mystic, someone who lives fully in the world while maintaining constant connection to spiritual guidance and cosmic perspective. The first essential skill for integration is learning to interpret the symbolic language that your soul uses to communicate experiences from dimensions where reality operates according to different laws than physical existence. Because consciousness in higher dimensions often works through direct knowing, symbolic imagery, and telepathic communication, the memories you bring back may not translate literally into earthly understanding. This is why many profound spiritual dreams seem strange or surreal when you remember them. Your mind is trying to translate experiences that occurred in dimensions where thoughts instantly become visible forms, where past and future exist simultaneously, and where communication happens through direct transmission of meaning rather than words. Learning to work with symbolic guidance requires developing what I call soul literacy, the ability to recognize when dream imagery, intuitive impulses, or synchronistic events in your waking life are carrying messages from your higher self or spiritual guides based on experiences your soul had during sleep. For example, if you dream about flying over a landscape and see areas of darkness and light, this might be a memory of participating in planetary healing work where your soul viewed Earth's spiritual condition from a cosmic perspective. The guidance embedded in this experience might be directing your attention to areas of your own life or community where healing is needed, or revealing your soul's calling to contribute to environmental or social healing work. Similarly, if you dream about receiving a book or scroll from a wise figure, this could be a memory of downloading knowledge during sleep that's now available to your conscious mind. The practical application might involve trusting new insights that arise during your waking hours, or being more receptive to learning opportunities that align with the wisdom you received. The second integration skill involves what I call bridging practices, specific techniques for maintaining connection to your spiritual experiences and guidance throughout your waking hours. Because the vibrational frequencies of higher dimensions are quite different from earthly consciousness, it's easy to lose touch with the insights and perspective you gain during sleep once you become involved in daily activities. One of the most effective bridging practices is morning meditation that specifically focuses on integrating your sleep experiences. Instead of immediately jumping into your daily routine upon waking, spend 10 to 15 minutes in quiet reflection, asking your inner wisdom to help you understand the guidance you received during sleep and how it applies to your current life circumstances. During this integration meditation, pay attention to intuitive impulses, sudden insights, or feelings of clarity about decisions you need to make. Often, the practical application of your sleep wisdom doesn't come as dramatic revelations, but as subtle knowings that guide you toward choices aligned with your soul's highest purpose. Another powerful bridging practice involves what I call cosmic perspective maintenance regularly throughout your day, pausing to remember the expanded awareness you access during sleep and viewing your current circumstances from that higher perspective. This helps prevent you from getting trapped in earthly dramas and keeps you connected to the larger spiritual context of your life purpose. The third integration skill is learning to recognize when insights, opportunities, or guidance appearing in your waking life are connected to spiritual work your soul accomplished during sleep. Because consciousness operates as a unified field, the healing, learning, and service you engage in during higher dimensional travel often manifests as synchronicities, opportunities, or aha moments in your daily experience. For example, If your soul participated in healing work for someone during sleep, you might find yourself unexpectedly encountering that person or receiving an opportunity to offer practical help in their earthly life. If you receive teachings about your life purpose during sleep, you might notice books, conversations, or opportunities appearing that align perfectly with the guidance you received. Recognizing these connections helps you understand that your spiritual and earthly lives aren't separate, but are different aspects of a unified existence where your soul's activities in higher dimensions directly influence and support your earthly mission. But perhaps the most important integration practice is what I call embodied service, allowing the love, wisdom, and healing abilities you develop through conscious sleep to express themselves naturally in your daily interactions with others. The ultimate purpose of spiritual development isn't to have impressive experiences or accumulate esoteric knowledge, but to become a more effective agent of healing and awakening in the world. As your conscious sleep practice develops, you'll find that your capacity for compassion, intuitive guidance, and healing presence increases naturally. Trust these developments and allow them to influence how you relate to family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers you encounter throughout your day. Sometimes this service is dramatic, offering exactly the right words to someone who's struggling, or providing healing energy to someone who's suffering. But more often, it's subtle, radiating peace in stressful situations, offering loving presence to those who feel alone, or simply maintaining a higher vibration that helps others access their own inner wisdom. The goal isn't to become a spiritual teacher or healer in any formal sense, but to allow your expanded consciousness to serve wherever it's most needed, whether that's in your family relationships, your work environment, or your community involvement. My beloved friends, what we've explored today reveals that you are never truly unconscious, never truly alone, and never separated from the spiritual guidance and healing that your soul requires for its evolution. Every night, while your body rests, your consciousness embarks on journeys that connect you directly to the cosmic intelligence that governs all creation. Your dreams are not random mental activity, they are memories of real spiritual experiences that can guide your earthly life when you learn to understand their sacred language. The spiritual anatomy of sleep shows that consciousness doesn't disappear when your body needs rest. It shifts into higher dimensional frequencies where your soul can engage in learning, healing, and service that's impossible during waking hours. The realms you visit serve specific functions in your spiritual development, from emotional processing in the astral plane to direct teachings from cosmic masters in the causal dimensions. Your soul's nightly activities include personal healing work that resolves lifetimes of karma, service to other souls who need support, and participation in planetary healing that affects the collective evolution of human consciousness. Understanding this transforms sleep from downtime into recognition of the most spiritually productive period of your existence. The techniques for developing conscious sleep allow you to reclaim awareness during these spiritual journeys and bring back guidance that can transform your earthly life. Through proper preparation, intention setting, and integration practices, you can develop the ability to maintain consciousness during your soul's travels and apply cosmic wisdom to your daily decisions and relationships. Most importantly, conscious sleep serves not just individual development, but preparation for greater service to the awakening of all life. As you develop these abilities, you become a more effective bridge between spiritual and physical dimensions, helping others access the guidance and healing that's available when we remember our true nature as spiritual beings temporarily experiencing physical form. Tonight, I invite you to approach sleep as a spiritual practice rather than mere physical rest. Before you close your eyes, set a clear intention to remember your soul's activities and ask your guides to help you maintain awareness during your spiritual travels. Keep a journal by your bedside and immediately upon waking, record whatever fragments you can remember, no matter how strange or symbolic they might seem. Trust that as you honor these experiences, your ability to consciously participate in your soul's nightly journey will naturally develop. Begin viewing your dreams not as random brain activity, but as memories of real spiritual experiences that carry guidance for your earthly life. Pay attention to the symbolic language your soul uses to communicate wisdom from higher dimensions, and look for connections between your sleep experiences and the synchronicities, opportunities, and insights that appear in your waking hours. Most importantly, allow the expanded consciousness you access during sleep to influence how you live, love, and serve during your earthly hours. The ultimate purpose of conscious sleep isn't to escape physical reality, but to bring cosmic wisdom and healing into the world where it's desperately needed. But here's something I haven't shared with you yet. There are specific techniques used by advanced yogis that allow you to not only maintain consciousness during sleep, but to actually direct your soul's travel to particular spiritual dimensions for accelerated learning and healing. These methods, taught in the highest initiations of ancient mystery schools, can transform your sleep from unconscious rest into conscious spiritual pilgrimage. In my next video, I'm going to reveal the complete system of conscious astral projection that masters have used for millennia to explore higher realms, receive direct teachings from ascended beings, and participate in cosmic healing work. This isn't just about lucid dreaming or having better sleep experiences. It's about developing the ability to consciously travel through spiritual dimensions while your body rests, accessing levels of wisdom and service that most souls take lifetimes to achieve. You'll discover the advanced preparation techniques that create optimal conditions for conscious dimensional travel, the specific methods for directing your consciousness to particular spiritual realms, and the protection practices that ensure your safety during these profound journeys. Most importantly, you'll learn how to work directly with ascended masters and cosmic beings who can accelerate your spiritual evolution and prepare you for increasingly responsible service to planetary awakening. If you're ready to reclaim the full scope of your consciousness and transform your nights into spiritual adventures that serve both your individual evolution and the collective awakening of humanity, click the video appearing now. Your soul has been waiting lifetimes to remember these ancient abilities, and the masters who taught me these techniques are calling to serious practitioners who understand that spiritual development is preparation for cosmic service. The time for casual spiritual practice is ending. Our planet needs conscious beings who can access higher wisdom, work directly with spiritual guides, and serve as bridges between dimensions during these times of unprecedented transformation. These advanced sleep techniques will prepare you to fulfill that sacred calling while experiencing levels of spiritual adventure that most people never imagined possible. Your nightly spiritual journeys are about to become conscious expeditions into the heart of cosmic mystery. Don't keep your soul waiting any longer. Click now and discover what's been waiting for you in the dimensions beyond physical sleep.
My beloved, you think you are sleeping when your eyes close, when your limbs grow still, and your thoughts dissolve into silence. But I tell you this, your body sleeps, yes. Your ego vanishes into a soft darkness, but your soul remembers. It does not slumber. It does not dissolve. It walks. It sees. It communes. It leaves the outer garment of flesh behind and drifts, like a fragrant wind, through realms that you have long forgotten but once called home. Each night, as the senses fade and the breath deepens, the temple of the body grows dim, but the priest within, your radiant soul, walks out silently and journeys inward, upward, homeward. But because your mind is heavy with illusion, you wake each morning empty, unaware that you have brushed the hem of heaven. Why is it, dear one, that you close your eyes each night and vanish from yourself? Why do you sleep as if slipping into nothingness, only to awaken again into a body you never quite remember leaving? Because the ego, master of forgetting, claims dominion over your consciousness when the body is awake, and when it sleeps, it drags the soul with it into subconscious delusion. You are not unconscious in sleep. You are simply untrained. You have not yet awakened the divine memory that watches even when the body dreams. Sleep is not darkness. It is a doorway, but you must learn to pass through it with awareness. Each night, you enact the miniature death of the body. The senses withdraw. The eyes close like curtains drawn across the stage of material life. The breath slows. The mind releases its grip on the world. And there, in that space between thought and dream, between heartbeat and stillness, the soul finds freedom. It lifts from the body, tethered still by the thread of life, and floats into the subtle world. For some, it is a gentle drift into symbols and shadows. For others, it is a deep plunge into the inner light. But for most, it is a lost opportunity, because the consciousness is so steeped in restlessness that even in the soul's nightly release, the traveler remains asleep. You see, the great illusion is this, that sleep is a void. But I say, Sleep is a shift of allegiance. It is a migration of energy from the external to the internal, from the physical to the astral, from the noise of the body to the whisper of the spirit. What you call unconsciousness is not the absence of experience. It is the absence of memory. And what you forget, you do not cease to live. You simply cease to claim it. The soul never ceases. It is ever awake, ever radiant, ever alive in God. But when the ego is not trained to remain conscious through the transitions of sleep, it returns each morning like a man who has traveled far but remembers nothing. Let us break the trance now. Close your eyes, not in fatigue, but in remembrance. Inhale, not as the dreamer, not as the body preparing to rest, but as the silent witness of the one who dreams. Inhale, and feel the breath lifting your consciousness like a flame rising through the spine. Exhale, and imagine all the day's identities, the name, the tasks, the masks, falling away like garments at day's end. There. Now you are closer to the truth. You are not this body. You are not even the thoughts that stir within it. You are the still, shining awareness behind them all, the one who watches the one who dreams. Imagine this. The temple doors close each night, the rituals of waking life complete. But deep inside that silent sanctuary, the soul lights its inner lamp and walks into halls not made of stone or sleep, but of light and vibration. Most never remember, but the yogi learns to walk those halls consciously. He does not sleep to escape life. He sleeps to return to the source of life. And when he awakens, he does not rise empty. He returns bearing fragrance from the inner garden. So the question, beloved, is not if your soul travels at night. It is this: will you remain asleep, or will you awaken within the sleep? Each night is a gift wrapped in silence. Each sleep is a veiled journey, and each moment of stillness is an invitation. Will you open it? Sleep, my dear one, is not the interruption of life. It is not the unconscious pause between the busy hours of activity. Sleep is sacred science. It is the soul's appointment with remembrance, if only you would prepare for it. You think that you sleep because the body grows tired. But in truth, the soul permits the body to sleep so that it may step beyond it. Sleep is not the end of consciousness. It is the retreat of attention. It is the moment when God calls the soul inward, and the soul, if it is ready, hears the whisper and begins its return. Let me tell you what truly happens. As your body sinks into stillness, the prana, or life force, begins to withdraw. It pulls back from the senses, no longer fueling the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the skin to touch. The energy that once radiated outward into action now flows inward through the sacred spine. This process mirrors death, but without severance. In deep sleep, your life force moves from the outer periphery into the deep sanctum of the heart and brain, just as in death the soul withdraws completely from the body and ascends to the astral realms. The ancient yogis saw this clearly. We do not wait for modern science to tell us what occurs when the eyelids close and dreams arise. We see with the eye of spirit. And with that vision, I tell you, sleep is a form of withdrawal. It is the soul's sacred permission to step back from the illusions it wears. That is why so many wake up refreshed, not only because the body rested, but because the soul, even without their conscious knowing, tasted a sweeter freedom. And that is also why others wake up restless, because the soul wandered in confusion, pulled by the same desires that haunt their waking hours. There are 3 states of consciousness known to man: waking, dreaming, and dreamless sleep. But beyond these, O seeker, is the 4th, the Turiya, the transcendental stillness, the unmoving awareness of the self. In the waking state, your soul plays in the physical world. In dreaming, it dances in the astral garden of thought and memory. In deep dreamless sleep, it forgets even the mind, and there, briefly, it touches its source. But because your awareness is undeveloped, you do not remember that sacred touch. Have you not felt it? That faint feeling upon awakening after deep sleep, that peace you cannot describe, that stillness you try to recapture but lose as the mind reawakens. That was the soul's glimpse of spirit. Not in full realization, but as a shadow, a whisper. You were nearer to God in that moment than in all your activity. But the veil dropped again, and you returned to the senses with no memory of where you had just been. Sleep is a gift. It is not merely for the body. It is the divine mechanism by which the soul is reminded, again and again, of its eternal nature. It is a return, albeit unconscious, to the bosom of God. And for the advanced devotee, for the one who trains his awareness to remain inward, even as the body sleeps, those nightly retreats become conscious pilgrimages. Such a yogi does not dream aimlessly. He visits the astral realms. He communes with saints. He receives divine instruction. For him, sleep is not a necessity. It is a blessing. Imagine, if you will, a temple with 3 rooms. In the outermost room, you engage with the world. This is waking life. In the middle room, colored with symbols and stories, you enter the realm of dreams. But in the innermost chamber, dark and quiet, you find no image, no sound, only stillness. This is deep sleep. But the innermost chamber, the one beyond even this, is the abode of God. And the yogi, trained in the science of inner stillness, learns to enter that 4th room, not by accident, but by remembrance. When you lie down tonight, do not say, "I am going to sleep." Say, "I am going inward." Say, "Let this sleep be a pilgrimage, not an escape." Place your awareness at the point between the eyebrows. Withdraw your gaze from the senses and whisper inwardly, "I go now, not to forget, but to remember." You are not a body falling into darkness. You are a soul returning to the light, and the body, in sleep, becomes the silent temple whose doors close, not in ending, but in reverence. Come close now, dear one, and let me speak of the mystery you have long sensed but never fully grasped. When you fall asleep, when the body grows still and your mind drifts into its inner theater of dreams and darkness, your soul does not simply lie dormant. It goes somewhere. It moves. It journeys. And what determines that journey is not the moonlight, nor the hour, nor the softness of your bed, but the quality of your inner consciousness. Where your soul goes at night is not random. It is law. It is magnetism. It is the silent echo of your daily thoughts, your desires, your prayers, or your restlessness. If your mind is turbulent throughout the day, if your words have wounded, if your thoughts have clung to the world, if your gaze has been outward only, then at night your soul drifts no higher than the region of those same vibrations. It hovers in the gray zones of the subconscious, chasing fragmented impressions, aimless dreams, confused memories. These are not punishments, beloved. They are reflections. You enter at night the same field you cultivated in your wakefulness. But if, even in small measure, your day was offered to God, if you remembered Him while walking, while speaking, while serving, then your sleep becomes a sanctuary. Your soul ascends. It travels to the higher astral realms, luminous worlds more beautiful than the eye can bear. There, it meets guides, loved ones passed on, saints who silently bless. There, the soul rests not in forgetfulness, but in silent communion. And even if the conscious mind does not remember, the effects of that communion linger. You wake with peace. You wake with clarity. You wake with a still joy that seems to have no source. Why don't you remember then? Why does such a radiant journey vanish at the border of waking? Because the ego returns first. It bursts through the veil before the soul has finished speaking. It slams the door with noise, with identity, with thought. It reasserts itself. I am this body, I am this name, I must hurry, I must do. And the soft voice of the soul is drowned once again. Imagine a diver plunging into deep blue water. He sees jewels, coral, ancient beauty. But when he returns too quickly to the surface, he forgets the vision. His lungs fill with air, his eyes squint in the sun, and he says, "Was it a dream?" No, beloved, it was not a dream. You were there, you did see, but the memory did not follow you home, because memory is tied to awareness. And if awareness is not trained to remain awake through the transitions, it forgets what it lived. This is why the yogi trains himself to maintain a thread of awareness even in sleep. He watches the coming of the dream. He learns to remain inwardly still even as the body relaxes. He becomes like a lamp, dimmed but never extinguished. And slowly, the barrier between waking and sleeping fades. He begins to remember, not all at once, but in sacred glimpses, a phrase heard inwardly, a light seen in the darkness, a divine presence near the edge of sleep. These are not illusions. They are remnants of where the soul has truly been. Some nights your soul rises to astral temples where music is color and thought is flight. Other nights it returns to old karmic scenes, working out knots of memory. Sometimes it visits the souls of those it loves. Sometimes it hovers silently near the one it longs for. But always, it goes somewhere. You are never still. You are never alone. And the more you train your inner gaze, the more you will begin to awaken not just from sleep, but within it. Repeat this with me now, silently. Tonight, I will not vanish. I will remember. I will rise in God. Say it again, with the breath. I am not the one who sleeps. I am the soul who watches. You were never meant to return from sleep empty. You were meant to bring back light. Let us now speak of dreams, not as illusions or random flickers of the subconscious, but as windows into the soul's forgotten voyage. You may think of your dreams as strange stories, as shifting visions with no purpose or pattern. But I tell you now, dreams are mirrors. They reflect not only your daily thoughts, but also the unspoken language of your soul. Within them are glimpses of astral truths, warnings wrapped in symbols, and, on rare nights, whispers from God Himself. To the untrained heart, a dream is noise. To the awakened soul, it is revelation. There are dreams born of digestion and fatigue. Yes, these exist. They are the echoes of the body and the static of the mind. But there are other dreams, subtler and more profound, which arise not from the flesh, but from the astral vibration. These dreams come from the region where the soul floats during sleep. In them, you meet beings you do not recognize with the mind, but feel you've known for centuries. You visit places that shimmer with color beyond earthly description. You experience joy, fear, flight, drowning, light. And each symbol is a message, if you learn how to listen. The great ones have always known. The dream world is the playground of karma. It is where unresolved emotions surface as metaphor, where hidden desires speak through imagery, where God tries to reach the sleeping soul with pictures the ego cannot dismiss. But the dream cannot guide you if you treat it like fantasy. It must be approached with reverence, not obsession. You must sit in stillness upon waking and ask, "What did my soul try to show me last night?" Then be silent. Be listening. Do not interpret with logic. Interpret with the heart. Some dreams are direct, a saint appearing, a divine message spoken, a glimpse of light that leaves you in tears. Others are layered in symbols, a river overflowing, a crumbling house, a newborn child. These symbols are not random. They are the alphabet of the astral language. And once you begin to live consciously, they will speak to you more clearly. You will begin to notice patterns, a color that repeats, a being that returns, an emotion that guides. All of this is the soul communicating through the veil. But do not become lost in the dream. The goal is not to cling to it, but to learn from it. The yogi watches his dreams with detachment. He receives what is useful. He releases what is residue. He does not seek dreams, nor fear them. He lives awake, and thus, even in the dream, his soul remains oriented toward God. Imagine a stained glass window. Light shines through it, casting colors on the floor. The shapes and hues change depending on the design. Some panes are cloudy, some broken, some vibrant. The dream is like this. The divine light is trying to reach you, but the clarity of your dream depends on the clarity of your consciousness. When the mind is impure, the light scatters. When the mind is still, the light passes through unhindered. Do you want dreams of truth? Then purify your waking hours. Speak kindly. Meditate deeply. Surrender silently. For how you live by day writes the script for what you dream by night. Say this with me now. My dreams are not noise. They are messages, and I will listen with the soul. Then breathe and imagine the next dream not as confusion, but as guidance. The soul always speaks. It is we who forget how to listen. Now let us go deeper still, not into the sleep of the body, but into the far more perilous sleep of the soul. For while it is common to speak of dreams and nightly rest, Far fewer speak of the great danger that befalls a man while he walks with eyes wide open and yet sees nothing. This is the sleep of Maya, the cosmic delusion that lulls the soul into believing it is the body, that blinds the inner sight and makes this fleeting world appear permanent. When the body sleeps, the soul is temporarily released. But when the soul sleeps in Maya, it forgets God entirely, and that is a slumber far more tragic. O seeker, most men are not truly awake. They live their lives in a walking trance, moving from moment to moment, from desire to desire, never pausing to ask, who is it that lives? Who is it that sees? They think themselves alive, yet their hearts are numb to the divine. They work, eat, laugh, weep, yet never stop to hear the whisper of the infinite beloved within. This is spiritual sleep, and this is why the masters cry out, lifetime after lifetime, awaken, child of light, remember who you are. The Bhagavad Gita says, that which is night to all beings, the disciplined soul is awake to, and that which is day to all beings, is night to the sage who sees. What does this mean? That while the world sleeps in ignorance, the yogi is awake to spirit, and while the world is frenzied in activity, the yogi withdraws into the divine night of meditation, where alone the soul remembers itself. Think of this, beloved. The sun shines, but the blind man sees only darkness. The divine shines at all times, but the soul, blinded by ego, sleeps through the brightness. And yet, within you, even now, is the power to awaken. One breath of God's name, one moment of deep stillness, can shatter the illusion and stir the soul from its long forgetting. Do not mistake the sleep of the body for the sleep of the soul. You may sleep physically and yet be inwardly awake, or you may walk in daylight and yet be dead to truth. The real awakening begins not with the opening of the eyes, but with the opening of the heart. Let us breathe now. Inhale with awareness, as if the soul itself were awakening from a long dream. Exhale with reverence, as if laying down the burdens of illusion. Say within, I will not sleep in Maya, I will awaken now. For in that awakening, sleep becomes sacred, and every night becomes a rehearsal for the eternal day. Let me now show you something very simple, but sacred. Your day is the architect of your night. The thoughts you carry, the emotions you dwell in, the energies you circulate, all these weave the path your soul will walk when the body rests. You cannot live in restlessness and expect to sleep in light. You cannot chase illusion all day and then expect your soul to rise to heaven when the eyelids close. The nightly journey of your soul is not determined by chance. It is sculpted by your consciousness. If your last thoughts before sleep are heavy with regret, anger, or fear, the soul will wander through dense astral shadows. If your gaze lingers on screens and noise, your mind will be clouded, and your soul, though free, will move confused. But if you end your day in stillness, if you whisper God's name upon your pillow, if your heart rests in surrender, then your soul will rise like a swan into the astral lake of divine memory. This is not poetry alone, it is spiritual law. The moment before sleep is one of the most powerful portals in human life. In that moment, the ego loosens its grip. The breath slows, the senses fade, and what remains is who you truly are. If in that moment you remember God, the soul follows that vibration into the higher realms. If in that moment you sink into worry or distraction, the soul follows that current downward. The soul is like a boat. Where the rudder points in that final moment, that is where it will drift. This is why the yogi prepares his sleep with reverence. He does not collapse into bed as if the day were merely over. He ends his waking hours as one stepping across a sacred threshold. He sits for a few moments in silence. He places his attention at the spiritual eye. He prays not for rest, but for remembrance. He offers the fruits of his day to God. He releases attachments. And only then does he allow the body to lie down. The body sleeps, but the soul soars. You must understand this. Every night is an invitation, a rehearsal for liberation. The path the soul walks in sleep is the same it will walk in death. If you can sleep well, in peace, in surrender, you are preparing for the great transition with grace. Say this with me now. Tonight I will go to sleep as a soul. I will release the world. I will return to God and breathe once more, slowly, gently, allowing your very breath to become the map your soul will follow home. Beloved soul, now we come to the most sacred truth of all. Each night, as your body slips into silence and your mind fades into the hush of dreams, the divine beloved whispers your name. Each night is not merely a biological necessity, it is a divine invitation. You are not falling into unconsciousness, you are being called back, and if you learn to listen, even once, you will never sleep the same way again. You have spent your day in action, in thought, in motion. You have worn the mask of the world. But when night comes, God offers you the gift of stripping all illusion away. He says to your soul, "Come now. The stage is dark, the play is over, sit with me in the wings of eternity." And the soul, if it is prepared, rises. It does not resist, it remembers. And in that remembering, even the deepest sleep becomes luminous. You do not need a temple to meet God. You do not need perfect circumstances. You only need willingness, a single moment before sleep in which you say from the heart, "I return to thee." That is enough to shift your entire vibration. That is enough to lift your soul beyond the fog of dreams and into the high garden of communion. God does not ask for hours. He asks for sincerity. I tell you this, if every soul on earth would end their day with even one breath of remembrance, the entire world would begin to awaken. Because sleep is not absence, it is presence. It is your chance to walk into the temple behind the temple, the silence behind the sound, the truth behind the mind. Sleep is not departure from life. It is the return to source. So tonight, when the lights dim and the body folds itself into rest, do not fall into forgetfulness. Close your eyes and whisper, as one lover to another, "I come to you now. I remember, I am not this form. I am yours." And then release the world, not as a burden, but as a blessing. Fall into sleep not like a leaf dropping from a tree, but like a flame rising into sky. Say it now as a vow. Tonight, my soul will remember God. Write it, speak it, and most of all, live it.
Beloved, as you sit here with me in the temple of your own heart, I want you to know that I have seen the weight you have carried. I have seen the invisible satchel slung across your shoulders, heavy, not with stones, but with memories, with unspoken words, with the slow sediment of years in which life's disappointments have settled deep into your spirit. I have seen how you have grown so accustomed to its presence that you do not even remember a time when you walked without it. You have begun to believe that this heaviness is not something you carry, but something you are. And that is the first veil we must lift together today. For these burdens, no matter how they cling, are not the eternal truth of your being. They are passing shadows on the changeless face of the soul. In my own meditations, I have often felt the compassion of God as a warm light streaming into the chambers of memory, touching those corners I thought would remain forever dim. And I have realized, the soul is never bruised by the events of the world. The ego self may feel wounded, the mind may replay its injuries, but deep within, untouched, there is a spark that no sorrow, no karma, no failure can stain. The weight you feel is the illusion that you are defined by what has happened to you, rather than by what God is within you. This is why the saints have always spoken of awakening not as becoming something new, but as remembering something ancient, eternal, and pure. Imagine for a moment a traveler who, at the start of a long journey, takes upon his back a great pack filled with provisions. In the first miles, he is mindful of its weight, careful of each step. But as years pass, the pack becomes part of his very posture, altering the curve of his spine, shaping the way his feet meet the earth. When at last a friend says to him, "You can take that off," he laughs, almost offended. "But this is who I am," he insists. And yet, if he only loosened the straps and let the burden slide from his shoulders, he would remember, perhaps with shock, perhaps with tears, what it is to stand upright, unencumbered, free. This is what Divine Mother longs to do for you in this very moment. Not by erasing the pages of your past, for they are part of the book of your growth, but by loosening the false identification that says, "I am my wounds, I am my errors, I am my weight." These are not the I that God created. These are the temporary clouds. The sun of your true self shines behind them still. The fear that keeps you from releasing them is subtle. It whispers, "If I put this down, who will I be? If I am no longer the sum of my struggles, will I vanish? Will I be nothing?" That fear is a lie born of forgetfulness. You will not be nothing, you will be everything you were meant to be. You will be the vastness in which all burdens dissolve like mist in the rising sun. So, I tell you now, no karma is too strong, no sorrow too deep, no mistake too recent or too ancient for the healing touch of God. The light of spirit does not pause at the threshold of your shame. It walks boldly into the darkest corners and illumines them. And when the light comes, the shadow cannot argue, cannot negotiate it, simply ceases to be. I want you to feel this as more than a concept. Close your eyes if you can. Imagine the sun cresting over a horizon after a long cold night. The land is still, the air is fresh, and across the hills the light pours without asking permission. That is how divine mercy moves. It does not ask the shadow, "Are you ready to leave?" It simply arrives, and in its presence, the darkness has no home. We will go deeper, but for now, I ask you to hold this simple truth in the quiet of your heart. The burdens you have carried are not the eternal you. They have no roots in the soul. They can fall away more easily than your mind dares to believe. And if these burdens are not who you are, then who is carrying them? This is the question that will lead us forward. In the stillness where we now meet, I invite you to journey with me into the fortress of silence, for it is here that the trembling of the heart is quieted, and here that divine courage is born. This silence is not the absence of sound, nor is it a hollow void where nothing lives. It is the living temple in which God speaks in the language beyond words. When you close your eyes and allow the breath to grow slow and deep, you step across the threshold into that sanctuary where no wind of worry can reach you, where the tumult of the day's demands cannot intrude. It is like entering a citadel whose walls are built not of stone, but of stillness itself, walls that have withstood centuries of storms without a single crack, because their foundation is eternity. This is why the saints retreated into caves, why Christ withdrew into the wilderness, why yogis sought the mountaintop. They were not fleeing the world in fear, but stepping into the unassailable refuge where their souls could drink deeply of God's courage. As you rest here, picture yourself sinking below the surface of an immense ocean. Above, the winds whip the water into restless waves, each one representing the noise and agitation of human thought. But you are descending to the depths where light filters down in slow beams and the waters are calm, heavy with peace. Here, no current can toss you. Here, there is only the vast, quiet pressure of divine presence surrounding you on all sides, holding you, steadying you, reminding you that the storms above are temporary and powerless against the stillness below. This is what I mean by the fortress of the soul, an inner state so established in God that no outward condition, no harsh word, no echo of the past can disturb the heart's serenity. But you must be willing to enter. So many stand at the gate of silence and hesitate, as though they fear what might meet them there. If I stop thinking, will I cease to exist? If I put down my worries, will I lose control? The mind protests. This is where divine courage must rise. For courage in the spiritual sense is not the brashness to face danger in the world. It is the humble strength to release one's grasp on the small, fearful self and surrender into the vast arms of the infinite. In silence, you do not lose yourself, you recover yourself. You discover the part of you that has never been wounded, never been diminished, never been afraid. That self, which is one with God, becomes your stronghold. This courage is a gift, but it is also a practice. Each time you turn inward and sit quietly, each time you allow the eddies of thought to settle like silt in a clear pond, you are building the walls of that fortress higher and stronger. At first, the world will still seem to call you back with its urgent noises, its demands and distractions. But if you persist, if you return day after day, a change begins to take place. The voice of silence, which at first seems faint and far away, begins to swell, until you realize it was never far at all. It was within you, waiting, ready to remind you that you are not a creature of fear, but a child of the eternal, safe in the refuge of His love. I tell you this from my own life. The most dangerous storms I have faced were not on battlefields or in the public eye, but in the inner chambers of my own thoughts. Yet in each trial, when I turned inward and anchored myself in that divine stillness, the walls of the fortress closed around me, and I knew I was safe. That knowing did not come from human reasoning, it came from direct contact with the infinite in silence. And it is from this silence that a whisper comes, a whisper meant only for you. carrying words that have the power to lift the burdens of a lifetime. Soon, we will listen for that whisper together. Now, beloved, we arrive at the threshold of the most intimate gift I can share with you in this sacred hour, the whisper itself, the living mantra that has been waiting in the inner chamber of your being since before your first breath. I do not offer it as a string of syllables to be repeated mechanically, but as a vessel of truth that must be filled with the wine of your own realization. For words spoken without consciousness are like seeds scattered on stone, they cannot take root. But when you breathe them from the depths of your soul, when you speak them into the silent ear of God at the altar of your inner stillness, they carry the fire that can burn the cords of lifetimes in an instant. The words are these: I am spirit, untouched by all past, present, and future shadows. I live in the light of the eternal. Let them enter you slowly now, not as a command to the mind, but as a remembrance of what you have always been. Feel how they roll through you like a river returning to the sea. The first phrase, I am spirit, is the lightning flash that breaks the sky of delusion. In that moment, you are not the child of circumstance, not the heir of grief, not the sum of the world's opinions. You are the formless, boundless, deathless reality that existed before time began and will remain when the stars themselves have faded. The next words, untouched by all past, present, and future shadows, are the cleansing wind that sweeps through the corridors of memory, scattering the dust of regret, lifting away the cobwebs of fear, reminding you that the shadows which seemed so real were cast by your turning away from the light and vanished the instant you turned back toward it. And then, I live in the light of the eternal. This is not a hope or a wish, but a declaration of your true address. Your home is not in the fragile structures of human fortune, but in the unchanging radiance that no time, no sorrow, no death can dim. See these words as a bird that has been caught in the rain, its feathers heavy, its wings sagging. The moment the rain ceases and the first warmth of sunlight touches it, the bird shivers once, twice, and then shakes the water from its body, sending tiny droplets sparkling into the air, and lifts into the clean sky as if the storm had never been. That is how the soul responds when it is reminded of its freedom. A single tremor, a release, and it is airborne again, the weight gone as though it had never been. Or imagine an ancient scroll, sealed for centuries, containing the king's pardon for a prisoner who has lived all his life believing he was condemned. One day the seal is broken, the scroll unrolled, and the words within declare, "You have always been free." This phrase I have given you is such a scroll. It does not create your freedom, it reveals it. I ask you now, not merely to memorize these words, but to carry them like a sacred ember in the palm of your heart. Speak them not aloud, but in the language of the soul, where there is no sound, yet all is heard. Let them rise on the tide of your breath, in moments when the old burdens try to return, in moments when the mind's shadows begin to gather. Speak them when you wake and the day's uncertainties loom before you. Speak them when the night comes and the world's noise falls away. And most of all, speak them now, here, while we are joined in the same current of spirit, so that the vibration of your whisper may mingle with mine and rise together into the infinite, planting these words where no wind can scatter them in the fertile soil of your own soul. Now that the sacred phrase has been placed into your keeping, we must learn how to anchor it deep within, so that it becomes not merely a thought passing through the mind, but the very atmosphere in which your soul breathes. To do this, we enter into the holy practice of whispering to God at the spiritual eye, that radiant doorway between the eyebrows, through which the consciousness slips beyond the small confines of the body into the boundless expanse of spirit. The masters have called this the seat of divine vision, the starry portal where the Christ consciousness shines, and where the devotee meets the beloved face to face in the inner temple. Sit quietly, spine tall as a mountain rooted in the earth, yet rising toward the heavens. Let the breath grow gentle, as though each inhalation were a tender invitation to the divine to come closer, and each exhalation were a surrender of all that stands between you and that embrace. Lift your gaze not straining, but as one might raise the eyes to greet a dear friend to the point between the eyebrows. Here is where you will place the whisper. You will not move the lips, you will not call upon the ears of flesh. Instead, you will speak in the silent language of thought and soul, sending the words upward and inward, where God hears them as clearly as if you had shouted them from the mountaintop. As you do this, imagine the words as beams of light, each syllable focusing like sunlight through a magnifying glass until the concentrated radiance ignites the very seeds of karma that have lain dormant in the soil of the subconscious. They cannot survive this fire. They are consumed, leaving the field of your inner being clean and ready for new growth. Or see them as a key, cool and smooth in your hand, turning without a sound in a lock that has been rusted for years. With each repetition, the tumblers inside begin to shift, until suddenly the lock gives way, the door swings open, and you find yourself standing on the threshold of an open, sunlit garden where you had once believed only walls and shadows existed. Do not rush this. Let each whisper be a complete offering, as though you were placing a single flower upon the altar of the infinite, not hurriedly tossed but laid with reverence, with both hands, with the awareness that the one who receives it has waited for this moment across all your lifetimes. Feel the words resonate not only in the mind but in the heart, as if they were striking a great hidden bell within your chest, whose tone rolls out in waves, touching every cell, every memory, every layer of your being. In that vibration, the old heaviness loosens and begins to slide away. When you do this sincerely, a shift will come. It may be subtle at first, a lightness in the breath, a softening in the shoulders, a sense that the air itself has grown clearer around you. Or it may be a sudden and overwhelming release, as though something deep within you has decided, at last, to put down its burden and walk into the light. However it comes, welcome it, for it is the answer to your soul's longing, the sign that the whisper has found its home. And so, beloved, remain here for a moment longer in this communion. Let the gaze be steady, the breath quiet, the whisper unbroken. Know that as these words settle into the silence, the weight you have carried is already shifting, already dissolving, already being lifted into the hands of the one who has promised to carry all things for those who love him. Now we turn to the art of making this whisper not merely a momentary comfort but a lifelong companion, a lamp that burns steadily through the corridors of your days and nights, guiding your steps, casting away the shadows before they can take form. To live in this way is to weave the sacred phrase into the very fabric of your existence, so that it becomes as constant and unnoticed as your own heartbeat, yet always ready to rise to full awareness in the moments you need it most. This is the path of daily inner bravery, the gentle, steadfast courage that keeps the soul aligned with the light regardless of the outer weather. At the first light of dawn, when the world is still quiet and the mind has not yet been claimed by the countless duties and demands of the day, you will sit, even if only for a few minutes, and turn inward. Imagine this moment as lighting a lamp in a darkened house. The house is your consciousness. The lamp is the whisper. You set it aglow before anything else has touched the rooms of your mind, so that as the day unfolds, every thought, every feeling, every action will be seen in the gentle radiance it casts. Speak the phrase inwardly 3 times, slowly, feeling each repetition sink deeper, as though you were pressing a seal into warm wax, leaving the imprint of truth upon the soft surface of the waking mind. Throughout the day, life will approach you with its various disguises. A sudden worry about the future, an old regret returning unbidden, the prick of someone's harsh words, the weight of some unfulfilled desire. These are the moments to pause, as though you had heard the faint toll of a bell in the distance. You stop, breathe once with awareness, and silently give the whisper into the silence behind the noise. Do not underestimate the power of this small act. It is like taking a thorn from the foot before it can fester, or closing a door before the storm wind can enter. The phrase becomes a shield, but not one of resistance, rather. It is a shield of light that renders darkness powerless simply by being present. When the evening comes and the world's noise falls away, you will return to the whisper once more. This is the tending of the lamp before sleep. Sit quietly, perhaps in a place you have made sacred, a corner with a candle, a photograph of your guru, a window that opens to the night sky. Review the day without judgment, offering every thought and deed into God's keeping. Then repeat the phrase inwardly, not as an effort to gain something, but as a gentle reminder to the soul of where it truly dwells. In doing this, you close the day in the light, and you carry that light with you into the realms of sleep, where it continues to work unseen, softening the hard places within, loosening the grip of long-held burdens. For those who practice Kriya Yoga or other deep meditations, the whisper can be placed at the end of the practice, like the seal on a letter. After you have stilled the breath and touched the edges of infinity, speak the phrase silently and let it be absorbed into the calmness you have cultivated. In this way, the vibration of your meditation is impressed upon the words, and the words, in turn, carry that vibration back to you whenever you recall them during the day. Over time, this practice becomes less an act you perform and more a state you inhabit. The whisper is no longer something you summon, it is simply there, like the steady hum of the earth beneath your feet. And in that constancy, you will find a courage that does not need to be roused, a peace that does not need to be chased. You will find that the burdens which once seemed so deeply rooted can no longer find a place to rest within you, for the ground they once claimed is now occupied entirely by the light. And in time, you will realize with quiet wonder, the whisper no longer needs to be called, it is already there, breathing with you, living in you, keeping you free. And now, beloved, as we come to the close of this sacred exchange, I wish to place upon your heart a blessing so complete, so all-enfolding, that you may carry it with you long after these words have faded from your ears. For this is not the ending of a lesson, but the sealing of a covenant between your soul and the infinite, between the whisper you have learned and the freedom it promises. You have walked with me through the valley of remembered burdens. You have stood with me in the fortress of silence. You have taken into your own being the phrase that dissolves lifetimes of shadow, and you have learned how to keep its flame alive day by day. Now it is time to lift your eyes to the horizon where the dawn of your true freedom is breaking. Imagine that before you stretches a vast plain, and beyond it, a horizon still dim from the passing of the long night. You have felt the night, the cold weight of it, the uncertainty of each step taken in the dark. But now, from far away, a faint glow begins to gather, not in sudden brilliance, but in the sure, steady way of a rising sun. You watch as the glow spreads, touching first the edges of clouds, then seeping into the sky, until at last the first golden rim of the sun itself appears. In that moment, the world changes. The shapes around you are no longer menacing silhouettes. They are revealed as gentle hills, flowering fields, living waters. The fear that clung to the darkness has nowhere left to hide. This is the work of the whisper, to bring that dawn into the innermost sky of your being, so that no matter what outer night may fall, your horizon is always clearing, your soul always turning toward the light. Or see yourself as a garden after a night of rain. The air is rich with the scent of earth. The leaves shimmer with droplets that catch the light like jewels, and every petal seems newly washed. This is what happens to the heart when burdens are lifted. The soil of the soul is softened, ready to receive the seeds of higher aspiration. The mind sparkles with fresh clarity. The spirit feels washed in God's mercy. What once was weighed down by the debris of old seasons is now light, fragrant, and full of promise. I bless you now in that light and in that renewal. I bless the quiet moments you will take for the whisper, that they may open into vast corridors of peace. I bless your mornings, that they may begin not with the burden of yesterday, but with the freshness of a soul newly awakened. I bless your evenings, that they may close in the serenity of a heart resting in God. I bless the path before you, that it may be free of unnecessary weight, yet rich with opportunities to serve, to love, to grow. And most of all, I bless your remembrance that you may never forget who you truly are, and that when you do forget, you will remember again swiftly, through the sacred words you now carry. So here, at this moment, I ask you to close your eyes one more time. Bring your awareness to the spiritual eye, that radiant doorway of light. In the stillness, whisper within, I am spirit, untouched by all past, present, and future shadows. I live in the light of the eternal. Speak it slowly, with the weight of eternity behind it, as though it were the last thing you could say in this world, and also the first thing you would speak in the next. Let it ring in the silence until the silence itself seems to echo it back to you, until you can no longer tell whether you are speaking to God or God is speaking to you. And when you have said it, do not rush to open your eyes or to think another thought. Rest there, as a child rests in the arms of the mother, safe, beloved, held beyond the reach of all harm. This is your home. This is your truth. This is the freedom you were born to remember, and it is already yours. Night falls, and with it, the world around you grows still. The hum of the day fades into silence, and the mind, once absorbed in tasks and distractions, begins to turn inward. For many, this is a time of rest, but for others, the darkness can feel heavy, even unsettling. It is in this space between wakefulness and dreams that fears often surface, worries about the future, regrets from the past, or a nameless sense of vulnerability. We imagine the night as something to endure, something to pass through until the light of morning returns. Yet this perception is a veil, not the truth. Darkness itself is not your enemy. It is not a force that seeks to harm you. The fear that creeps into your thoughts at night is born of forgetting that you are never alone, forgetting that unseen hands of light surround you, forgetting that the soul is always safe in the embrace of the divine. Paramahansa Yogananda often reminded his students that the night is not a time of spiritual abandonment but a sacred threshold. Just as dawn brings a renewal of day, the darkness of night offers the renewal of the soul. The body rests, but the spirit journeys. It moves freely in subtle realms, bathed in the currents of divine presence. Angels, beings of light who have walked beside you since before you were born, remain vigilant in these hours, guarding your soul from harm, guiding you gently along your path, whispering blessings that you might carry into your waking life. Their presence is constant, but your awareness of them is what opens the gate between you and their protection. Imagine the night not as a void, but as a vast, luminous sanctuary. Above you, the stars are like windows into the infinite, each one a reminder that the universe is alive with intelligence and love. Around you, the air is not empty, but filled with the subtle vibration of divine guardianship. You may not see them with physical eyes, but you can feel them when your heart is quiet and open, a soft warmth, a gentle stirring, a peace that settles over you like a blanket woven of light. When you step into this awareness, the fear of the night dissolves. You begin to understand that the darkness is simply another face of God, a softer, quieter one, inviting you into deeper trust. So tonight, and every night after, I want you to hold this truth in your heart. There is nothing to fear when the sun goes down, for you are watched over. As you drift toward sleep, remember that the divine does not rest, and the angels do not turn away. They wait for you to call them, to acknowledge their presence, to open the door so they can surround you with their luminous care. And that call can be as simple and as powerful as a whisper that carries your soul's longing into the currents of light, a whisper that signals your willingness to be held in the arms of God's eternal protection. To understand the power of this nightly whisper, we must first understand the nature of the ones who respond to it, the angels, the eternal protectors of the soul. In Yogananda's teachings, angels are not distant or abstract symbols of goodness. They are living beings of radiant consciousness, extensions of divine love and intelligence. They are messengers of God, but they are also guardians, charged with the sacred duty of guiding and protecting those who seek the light. Their essence is not bound by the laws of the physical world. They move in the subtle realms, where thought is action and where love is a tangible force, and their presence can be felt as clearly in the stillness of your bedroom as it can be sensed in the quiet corners of a temple. These beings do not guard you out of obligation or pity. They are drawn to you by resonance. Just as a seed sprouts when placed in the right soil, their protection blossoms when the vibration of your heart aligns with the frequency of divine trust and love. In times of deep sincerity, your soul emits a call that is inaudible to the physical ear, yet unmistakable to those who dwell in the higher planes. When you whisper with devotion, not mechanically, but with the living energy of faith, your words ripple through these realms, and they respond instantly. Yogananda likened this to sending a prayer on a beam of light. It cuts through all barriers, reaching its destination in the same instant it is sent. The angel's protection is not always about preventing external events. Often, it is about guarding the soul from inner harm, from fear, despair, confusion, and the subtle influences that can cloud spiritual vision. In the vulnerable state of sleep, when the conscious mind loosens its grip, the soul can travel and experience realms beyond the physical. Without guidance, these journeys can be aimless or influenced by the residue of lower vibrations. But under angelic guardianship, the soul's nocturnal voyage becomes purposeful. It can be guided to places of learning, healing, or deep communion with the divine. You awaken in the morning not only rested but subtly transformed, lighter in spirit, calmer in mind, more open to grace. Think of their watch not as a rigid military vigilance, but as the loving gaze of a mother over her child. They do not intrude. They do not command. They stand nearby, shielding, blessing, radiating a peace so deep that even the most restless heart can feel its embrace. And they are never more ready to act than when you willingly invite them, acknowledging their role in your life. That invitation, your whispered prayer before sleep, is the key that turns the lock, the light that signals your openness to their help. Once you understand this, you will never again see the night as an empty or unguarded time. Now, with the heart prepared and the mind attuned to the reality of angelic guardianship, we arrive at the heart of this teaching, the whispered prayer itself. This is not a formula of empty words, but a living vibration distilled from the very essence of devotion. Yogananda often emphasized that the language of God and his messengers is not bound to any single tongue. It is the vibration of consciousness behind the words that carries power. Yet, certain combinations of sound and meaning have been sanctified by centuries of use, becoming channels through which divine energy flows more readily. The prayer I will share with you now is such a channel. Before I speak it, I invite you to imagine your own heart as a small, still pool under the silver light of a moonlit sky. The waters are calm. There is no ripple of restlessness, no disturbance of doubt. In this stillness, you lean gently toward the divine, as a flower leans toward the sun, and you let the words arise not only in your voice but in your very being. The prayer is simple. Beloved guardians of light, I rest in your keeping. Wrap me in the wings of divine love. Guide my soul through the night, and return me at dawn renewed, whole, and filled with God's peace. When you whisper this, do not hurry. Let each phrase linger in the air, as if it were incense rising toward the heavens. The first line, beloved guardians of light, calls upon the protectors not as strangers but as beloved companions. The next, I rest in your keeping, is the act of surrender, the placing of the soul into their care without hesitation. Wrap me in the wings of divine love is a request for protection not merely as a shield, but as an embrace of pure, transformative energy. Guide my soul through the night acknowledges the unseen journeys of the sleeping hours, inviting guidance toward higher realms. And finally, return me at dawn, renewed, whole, and filled with God's peace, is both a blessing and a declaration of faith that the night will end not in weariness but in spiritual refreshment. Yogananda taught that such prayers, when whispered in a state of deep sincerity, act like a seal upon the consciousness before sleep. They imprint a divine pattern upon the mind and subtle body, ensuring that what unfolds in the dream state and beyond is aligned with the soul's highest good. The whisper, in particular, has a special potency. It quiets the conscious mind, bypassing its tendency to question or analyze, and plants the seed of the prayer directly in the fertile soil of the subconscious. There, it germinates through the night, nourished by the higher forces that your words have summoned. When you first practice this, you may simply feel a sense of peace settling over you. But with time, you may begin to notice other signs, dreams of light and protection, waking with a clarity that feels like the aftermath of a sacred encounter, or even a subtle, comforting presence around you as you drift into sleep. The prayer is not a magic trick. It is a key, and the more you use it with devotion, the more the door to divine guardianship will open. To understand why whispering this prayer before sleep holds such a profound effect, we must look beyond the surface act of speaking and into the subtle science of vibration that Yogananda often illuminated. Every sound, whether loud or soft, carries a frequency, a unique ripple in the ocean of creation. But a whisper, unlike a shout or a casual utterance, is intimate by nature. It draws the voice inward, focusing intention, and it shapes the air not for the world's ears but for the divine's. It is as if the soul leans closer to the infinite, breathing its trust into the folds of eternity. When you whisper, you are not merely saying words, you are modulating your entire being into a more delicate frequency. In the waking hours, our voices are often charged with outward energy, speaking to persuade, to explain, to defend. But when the day quiets and the whisper comes, it is as though we are stripping away the armor, allowing the bare truth of the heart to emerge. This soft vibration is highly receptive to divine influence, for it lacks the turbulence of ego-driven speech. Angels, and the higher realms they inhabit, respond naturally to this refined current, much like a still lake reflects the stars more perfectly than a churning sea. In the language of yoga, whispering with devotion harmonizes the breath, mind, and subtle energy centers. As your voice lowers and your breathing slows, the heart's rhythm steadies. Your nervous system moves from the jangling urgency of daytime into the calm, restorative state that invites not only physical rest, but spiritual receptivity. The whisper, then, is not a mere stylistic choice. It is a spiritual alignment, tuning the instrument of your being so it can resonate with the celestial choirs who stand ready to guard your soul. There is also an esoteric truth here. When the vocal cords are engaged softly, they send finer vibrations through the skull and into the brain's pineal and pituitary regions, sacred centers that mystics across ages have identified as gateways to higher consciousness. This subtle stimulation, combined with the concentrated focus of prayer, can awaken an awareness of the unseen. Over time, you may begin to sense the presence of your guardians, not as a mental concept, but as a living nearness, the brush of peace in the air, a faint warmth at the edges of your aura, a knowing that you are not alone in the night. Yogananda would remind us that in the spiritual realm, intention is everything. The angels do not measure the volume of your voice, they measure the depth of your devotion. The whisper, by its very nature, requires you to gather your energy and place it fully into each word. You are not announcing to the world, you are confiding in God. And such confidence is magnetic. It draws divine beings close, just as a tender cry draws the attention of a loving mother to her child. So when you whisper this prayer, feel it not only in your throat but in your entire body, as though each cell participates in the request for light and protection. Let the vibration move through you until you are no longer simply speaking the prayer, you are the prayer. This is the law of vibrational alignment. What you embody is what you attract. And when you embody divine peace in your final waking moments, you invite divine peace to guard you through the night. Now, with your body stilled, your breath attuned, your mind uplifted, and your heart open, we enter the living current of the whispered prayer itself. This is not a mere recitation, it is a transmission, a conversation between the innermost part of your soul and the luminous beings who dwell in the higher realms. Yogananda often reminded his disciples that prayer spoken in deep sincerity pierces through layers of vibration far beyond what the human ear can hear. In the stillness of the night, when the world sleeps, the subtle currents of the astral plane are more easily felt, and the prayer you utter now will travel swiftly on those currents to the waiting presence of your guardian angels. The prayer itself is simple, for divine truth is never complicated. Let the words form slowly, as though each syllable were a petal opening on a sacred blossom. Beloved divine, send thy angels to guard my soul through this night. Surround me with thy light, keep me in thy peace, and let me awaken in thy joy. Whisper this. Whisper so softly that the sound barely escapes your lips, as if speaking to someone seated so close that they could hear even the thought behind your voice. In whispering, you are not trying to project outward into the noise of the world. You are drawing inward, deeper into the sanctuary of the soul where the angels already wait. The very act of whispering draws the energy into the spine and heart, focusing it into a laser beam of intention. As you whisper the words, feel them take root in your body. When you say, beloved divine, lift your eyes to the spiritual eye and feel that you are directly addressing the infinite, not as a distant concept but as the closest companion of your soul. When you say, send thy angels to guard my soul through this night, picture radiant beings robed in light, positioning themselves gently around you at your head, your feet, and each side, their eyes serene, their presence powerful yet tender. When you whisper, surround me with thy light, imagine a sphere of golden white radiance enveloping you, shimmering like sunlight on water, impenetrable to any darkness or discord. Then, as you say, keep me in thy peace, allow a profound calm to settle over you, as if you were lying in a meadow beneath a warm sun, with no fear, no past, no future, only the eternal now. Finally, when you whisper, and let me awaken in thy joy, envision the morning light touching your face, your heart swelling with gratitude at the awareness that you are still held, still loved, still guarded by that same divine presence. Repeat the prayer slowly, 3 times. The first time is the planting of the seed. The second time, the seed begins to sprout. The third time, the bloom opens fully. Between each repetition, pause and feel. Do not rush to fill the silence. The angels often speak most clearly in the moments after your words have been given. That stillness is where they answer, not always in language, but in sensations, impressions, or sudden bursts of knowing. By the third whisper, you may feel a change in the atmosphere, a subtle warmth, a tingling at the crown of your head, a sensation of being watched over. This is not imagination. It is the soul's subtle perception awakening. Whether you consciously feel their nearness or not, trust that your prayer has been heard and answered. Divine law responds to sincere invocation, and no earnest call for protection is ever ignored. When the prayer is complete, allow yourself to recline gently into your resting position. Keep your breath slow and easy, your awareness lightly at the spiritual eye, and drift into sleep as if passing from one room of God's house into another. This is the art of spiritual sleep, entering the night not as an unguarded traveler, but as a welcomed guest in the courts of light, surrounded by those who love you beyond measure. Deepening surrender is the bridge between asking for divine guardianship and fully receiving it. Many offer prayers at night, but then, without realizing it, they carry their burdens into sleep as if still clutching the very weight they had hoped to lay down. Yogananda emphasized that to invite God's angels is also to release all resistance, all control, all clinging to the reins of life, to place the soul in the hands of the infinite with the same trust a child has when falling asleep in the arms of a loving parent. Imagine now that you are holding in your hands a small bundle not of cloth or possessions, but of every worry, every regret, every lingering fear. It may be the uncertainty of tomorrow, the residue of past mistakes, or the restless ache of unanswered questions. In your mind's eye, picture yourself extending that bundle upward, placing it into the open palms of a radiant being of light. This angel's eyes are steady, knowing, and filled with an unshakable peace that says, "All is well." As you surrender this bundle, feel a lightness in your chest, as though a hidden knot has gently loosened. The angels do not merely watch over you in the passive sense. They actively lift away what no longer serves your soul, carrying it into the higher realms where divine transformation occurs. In this surrender, you are not abandoning responsibility for your life. You are allowing the divine intelligence that sustains the cosmos to take its rightful place as your guide and protector. To aid in this release, Yogananda often suggested a simple breath practice before sleep. Inhale slowly and deeply through the nose, mentally affirming, "I draw in thy peace." Hold for a few moments, letting the calm settle in. Then exhale softly through the mouth, thinking, "I release all to thee." With each exhalation, feel yourself melting deeper into trust, like a snowflake dissolving into a warm ocean. True surrender is not a collapse. It is a conscious yielding into the hands of love. It is the awareness that the angels stand ready not just to guard your body in the night, but to shield your soul as it journeys into the subtle worlds during sleep. They are watchful, not in a tense or fearful way, but with the quiet certainty of beings who have walked through every shadow and emerged untouched. As you rest, visualize your bed as a small boat on a tranquil, moonlit sea. You are lying within it, eyes closed, while gentle hands unseen but unmistakably present keep the vessel steady and safe. The stars above are the watchful eyes of higher beings, each one sending a thread of light to anchor you in the divine. You do not need to row, you do not need to steer. Your only task is to let the current of God's love carry you until morning. By practicing this deep surrender night after night, you cultivate a spiritual muscle, the ability to trust more easily, to let go more completely. And in time, you will notice that the peace you feel at night begins to spill into your waking hours. This is the hidden blessing of angelic guardianship. It is not confined to sleep, but becomes a living presence that walks beside you in every moment. Recognizing the signs of angelic presence is like learning to hear a familiar melody beneath the noise of the world. Often, their nearness is subtle, felt more than seen, sensed more than explicitly announced. Yogananda taught that divine beings do not impose themselves. They come quietly, like the fragrance of jasmine drifting in through an open window at night. To the untrained mind, such presence might be dismissed as coincidence, but to the attuned heart, it is unmistakable. One of the most common signs is an unexplainable sense of warmth or comfort, even in moments of solitude. You might find yourself lying in bed, the room dark and still, and yet there is an almost tangible feeling that the air itself is alive with benevolence, as if unseen arms have wrapped around you. This is not imagination alone. It is the soul's subtle senses responding to a real energetic presence. Another sign comes in the form of sound. Some report hearing faint, melodic tones, like distant chimes, or the soft hum of a harp string plucked in another room. These are not always audible to the physical ear, but are registered in the inner hearing, what yogic tradition calls the anahata nada, the unstruck sound of the higher realms. Such tones are like a calling card, a reminder that the guardians are near and active. You may also notice shifts in light. Perhaps a corner of your room seems inexplicably brighter, or you glimpse a fleeting shimmer of gold or silver light in the periphery of your vision. These subtle illuminations are not the product of faulty eyesight. They are the way high-frequency beings make themselves partially visible without overwhelming your senses. In sacred texts across cultures, angels are associated with radiance because they carry the undimmed reflection of the divine. Physical sensations can also serve as gentle confirmations. A soft pressure on your shoulder, a cooling breeze that moves through a closed room, or a sudden easing of muscle tension can all be quiet reassurances that your prayer for guardianship has been answered. These touches are never jarring. They carry the unmistakable vibration of kindness and peace. Emotionally, the presence of angels often brings a shift in your inner climate. You might drift toward sleep and feel an uncaused joy welling up in your chest, or a profound relief as though something heavy has just been lifted from you. These are the ripples of divine energy moving through your emotional body, dissolving fear and anchoring you in serenity. Yogananda reminded his students that trust is key in perceiving these signs. If you doubt them, your mind will filter them out, dismissing them as tricks of perception. But if you remain open, if you choose to believe that the infinite can and does reach out to you through such subtle means, you will find these signs becoming more frequent, more undeniable. Before sleep, when you whisper the sacred prayer and surrender your being into divine care, set a quiet intention. Beloved angels, let me feel your nearness in the ways my soul can best receive. By doing this, you invite not only their protection, but also their gentle teaching, training you to recognize their work in your life both night and day. Living in divine protection is not merely a nighttime experience. It is a state of consciousness that, once cultivated, begins to permeate every waking moment of your life. When Paramahansa Yogananda spoke of angelic guardianship, he did not limit it to the hours when the body sleeps and the mind wanders in dreams. He envisioned it as an unbroken relationship, a constant companionship with higher forces that walk beside you through every circumstance, both joyful and challenging. To live in this awareness means to carry the same faith you feel after whispering your prayer at night into the busy hours of the day. Each step you take becomes an affirmation that you are guided, watched over, and protected. This doesn't mean life will become free of challenges. Rather, it means you will meet those challenges with the unshakable knowing that you do not face them alone. Even in the most ordinary tasks, driving to work, preparing a meal, speaking to a stranger, the awareness of divine presence subtly changes the way you move, speak, and think. In practical terms, this cultivation begins with remembrance. When you wake in the morning, instead of rushing immediately into your daily routine, pause for a moment to acknowledge your spiritual companions. Silently offer a thought of gratitude. Thank you for watching over me in the night. Walk with me now through the day. This small act of remembrance strengthens the connection you invited through your nightly prayer, allowing it to remain vibrant and alive. You will notice that living in divine protection softens the edges of fear. Situations that once caused anxiety will begin to feel less threatening because you instinctively sense that a greater intelligence is orchestrating events for your highest good. This shift in perception is one of the clearest signs that you are integrating the truth of angelic guardianship into your consciousness. Yogananda often taught that the company we keep shapes our destiny, and that includes unseen company. By aligning yourself with divine beings, you begin to mirror their qualities: patience, compassion, courage, and unwavering love. Over time, you may find that you begin to act as a guardian in the lives of others, offering the same reassurance, protection, and guidance you have received. This is the natural overflow of living in such a state. Divine protection is not meant to be hoarded but shared, so its blessing multiplies. Whenever moments of doubt arise, and they will gently return to the anchor of your nightly practice, remember the prayer, the stillness, the peace you feel as you drift to sleep in the company of light. Let that memory be a touchstone throughout the day, a reminder that the spiritual world is not confined to a certain hour or ritual. It is always here, waiting for your recognition. By living in divine protection, your life gradually transforms into a sanctuary, not just for yourself but for all who enter your presence. People may not consciously understand why they feel calmer, safer, or more inspired around you, but they will sense it. And that is the ultimate sign, when the light that guards you begins to guard others through you. Sharing the light you have received is the natural and joyful next step in this journey. When Yogananda spoke of the blessings that flow from communion with higher beings, he often reminded his disciples that these blessings are never meant to end with the individual. Divine protection, divine love, and divine peace are expansive by nature. They grow stronger when shared, and they diminish only when withheld. To become a beacon of peace means to embody the qualities you have cultivated through your whispered prayer and to radiate them outward into every environment you enter. You may not even realize at first how profoundly this light affects others. It might be as simple as a family member sleeping more soundly because your own energy has shifted, or a coworker feeling inexplicably calmer in your presence. Spiritual influence does not always require spoken words. Often it works silently, flowing through your demeanor, your patience, your tone of voice, and even the way you listen. Every act of kindness, every moment of genuine attention, becomes a vessel for the same divine guardianship you invoke each night. To share this light consciously, you can begin by offering silent blessings to the people you encounter during the day. While waiting in line, driving in traffic, or sitting in a meeting, take a brief moment to inwardly send the intention, may you be guarded, may you be at peace, may you feel the presence of love. These silent whispers are not mere thoughts. They are energetic ripples that carry the vibration of your nightly prayer into the lives of others. Sometimes sharing the light will take the form of guidance. A friend may come to you with fear or uncertainty, and in that moment, you can offer the same comfort you have found. Tell them about the power of intentional prayer, the peace of inviting protection before sleep. You need not convince them with arguments. Instead, simply speak from your own experience, allowing your sincerity to be the proof. As you live this way, you will notice a beautiful reciprocity. The more you share, the more you feel replenished. This is because divine light is infinite. It cannot be depleted by giving. Instead, the act of giving creates greater openness within you to receive. This openness, in turn, strengthens your nightly connection with your angelic guardians, creating a continuous exchange of receiving and radiating divine presence. In time, your life will become a quiet ministry. Without standing on a platform or wearing a title, you will become a living reminder to those around you that unseen love and protection are always near. Your home will feel like a refuge, your presence like a sanctuary, and your words, whether spoken aloud or whispered in prayer, will carry the resonance of peace. And in this way, you will fulfill one of the highest spiritual callings, to let the light that guards your soul guard the souls of others through you. As we come to the final blessing, I invite you to set aside every distraction, every wandering thought, and allow yourself to become completely present in this moment. You have listened, reflected, and opened your heart to the possibility that angels, these luminous messengers of God, are nearer than the breath that sustains you. Now is the time to seal this understanding, to root it deep within your consciousness, so that it becomes a living truth you carry into your dreams tonight and into every night thereafter. Close your eyes gently and take a slow, steady breath in, feeling it fill not just your lungs, but your entire being. As you exhale, imagine releasing all burdens, all fears, all tensions, like a mist dissolving in the morning sun. Above you, envision a vast expanse of starlit sky, pure and unending. From this celestial canopy, a soft and radiant light begins to descend, wrapping you in warmth and stillness. This light is the presence of your guardian angels, patient, watchful, and unconditionally loving. In this sacred space, whisper quietly in your heart the prayer you have learned, not as a mere repetition of words, but as a deep and sincere call to the infinite. Beloved Spirit, beloved guardians of light, I surrender this night into your care. Surround me with your love, protect my soul, and guide me in my dreams toward peace and truth. Feel each word as a vibration, a wave that travels upward into the unseen realms, carrying the essence of your devotion. Now, imagine these angels forming a circle around you, their presence like gentle pillars of light, their gaze filled with compassion that pierces every shadow. You are safe. You are loved. You are held in an eternal embrace that no force of darkness can enter. Rest in this knowledge and allow your spirit to grow still. As this blessing concludes, remain in silence for a moment longer, not rushing to open your eyes or to move. Let the quiet fill you. Let the peace anchor you. When you do return to waking awareness, carry this vibration with you into your dreams, into your morning, into every step of your life. Tonight, when you lay your head down, remember, you are never alone. Your whispered prayer is not a plea cast into an empty sky, but a key that opens the door to a chamber filled with divine guardians. Sleep now in the certainty that your soul is watched over, cherished, and guided not just for one night, but for all eternity.